supports here are actually very good at playing the Rakan, but being on the red side, Gambit do choose to ban that one away, showing full well that Ascension would first pick it, and I have no doubts that they would as well. But following that Rakan ban, they're actually throwing the gauntlet here, Ascension. Getting rid of that Caitlyn, knowing that there's the Kaiser available, forces the second ban, and maybe they get an AD carry of their choice regardless.
Yeah, the question is, do you go for something like a Xayah here when you know the Rakan's banned? Varus is still on the cards as well. Tristana, someone we haven't even seen yet, still an option for these AD carries. May even move away from that and pick a priority jungler instead.
Well, this is going to be an abstract version of that, I suppose. Going for the Camille with their first rotation usually reveals that that's going to the top lane. It can be flexed towards the jungle, which is a place you'll have to consider, but that's usually a very niche flex now.
It also has been 100% banned against Rocky throughout this tournament, so giving him one of his comfort picks in the top lane. We talked about him as a primary carry for this team in the past. They said it on the AD. Rocky and Intresso are the players that need to step up. Giving him something he's comfortable on will definitely help them out a lot. Gambit going to answer with the Karma and probably the Trundle here as well.
Now note that the Caitlyn being banned away by Ascension, it's not going to be the Caitlyn Karma running around with the Morgana perhaps even filling the support position there. It can still be a support Karma, can still be a mid lane Karma, so we're looking towards the flex there. And with the Trundle locked in, not a lot of things actually beat the Trundle in the jungle position. You can go something aggressive like the Graves though, if you want to try and match the tempo, perhaps get some ganks off.
Looks like it's going to move towards the mid lane here for Ascension. That Vladimir locked in for G4. Very different from the last time we saw these teams play against each other. None of the priority picks picked by either team as of yet, but the Kaiser was available then as well. So Gambit made a composition that worked around Logic. Here, Ascension going for some more comfortable picks, which is what they need to do when they're 0-3 in the group.
And they picked a team fighting mid laner in the Vladimir this time around with a hybrid in the Camille, can split push, can team fight as the composition requires. And with the third pick rounded out here as well, Medic, it's a bit of a wishy-washy composition, but it does have a very clear focus when you look at the goals of it, and that is to kill their opponents fast.
It's very odd to see the Sejuani Fiora locked here for Steos in the top lane as well, so that's going to be a very aggressive top lane. We'll have to keep our eyes on that, but I want to come back to this Sejuani because it's the first time we've seen her picked, and a lot of teams have been erring away from her on 8.8.
And it has been known that you do not pick Sejuani into Trundle. It is just the best Trundle matchup possible when you consider the Aftershock with the ultimate. But when you think about Sejuani pre that level 6 point and impact that it can have on the map, it usually shows that Ascension, they've actually drafted this for the composition. They haven't drafted to fight Diamond Procs. They're actually probably just going to avoid him, maybe try and sneak the Scuttle Crab out earlier and control the jungle through vision, not through meeting them.
So at the moment, it looks like the top side of the map is really the main point of contest for these two teams. Two strong junglers, two strong top laners. We're having AD carry and support bans come out. Gambit getting rid of Alistar, Ascension getting rid of the Varus for themselves, but still no AD carries picked for either of these two teams.
Yeah, when you get rid of the Alistar first for Gambit Esports, there's a chance that you were looking to prioritize the support yourself. But with the Varus gone as well, the AD carry pool starts to dwindle, so that's where the question marks do have to come about. What do they prioritize? Ezreal's always an option for Logic.
We've still got the Jhin available as well, which Logic played really well in that press R composition. Sivir removed by Gambit. Now Ascension have that choice. Do you get rid of another AD carry and force yourself down to that tier 2? Do you try and keep a couple available so you can get a strong pick into Gambit's strong pick as well?
It's always a risk knowing that the Karma is there as well. They could actually just put that into the bottom lane, guarantee a winning 2v2 regardless of what is available now. Xayah perhaps the last remaining pushing style of AD carry that you would want to remove. Not exactly a bully, but with Karma, unstoppable. And they choose to do neither of those things in the bottom lanes. The sights are set elsewhere.
Yeah, going to get rid of the Cassiopeia. It's a matchup we have seen into the Vlad previously. It does leave a couple of those AD carries up. As you say, the Xayah there, the Tristana there as well. Is going to be Trist for Logic in the bottom lane. Now Ascension need to pick their support and AD carry here, you would think, unless they're flexing something very, very strange.
And there is a chance that they actually go for the Morgana here, not just because it's a Tristana, but Trist with Karma and Morgana is a super dangerous three-man combo for carrying the game as it goes later on. Fiora just going to be unlocked in the 1v1, you would imagine, towards the top side of the map. So as they go towards their AD carry, they have their pick of the litter, they choose the Ezreal, but for the support role, I would almost go the Morgana just to deny that. And it's not that the Black Shield does a lot for you anymore, it's that you don't give it to them.
And it is good against things like the Sejuani as well. You can stop that ultimate from being able to connect from long range. So getting the Morgana here for Ascension Gaming does make a lot of sense, as you say, Rusty. Instead, they are looking towards the Braum. Haven't locked it in yet, could still flex it, could still prove your prediction right. No, it's going to be the Braum in the end. So it is a strong bottom lane. It's a bit more defensive than push potential that we talk about with the Morgana.
Yeah, the Braum actually works super well with the Ezreal regardless. You can poke two different sides of the lane, kind of like a good version of Blitzcrank and Ezreal, where you just control different halves of the lane and try and whittle them down. The all-in threat is now legitimately there as well. They pick another tank for the composition, but they do leave themselves open to any kind of response they would like. Edward chooses one of his signature picks.
Locks in the Thresh Prince, he used to be called, and now he gets it for himself in the bottom lane. Have to keep track of those hooks as the game does progress. But I want to come back to more of a macro thought here, more of a team compositional thought. Ascension Gaming, we talked about how at level 6 they have this really strong combination. Are they looking to do anything other than team fight here?
I mean, frankly, team fighting is the easy option for them. You do have other availabilities. In fact, both teams do when you look towards Rocky against PvP Steos in the top lane 1v1 split push. And that's where the early game, and again, both of these teams getting the early game control influences the rest of it. The Sejuani and the Trundle, how they influence the top lane, dictates the snowballing quite severely up there. So there are other options, but it's about how they actually get to those options and if they do exist in the first place. Or if Ascension, in this case, they just throw everything and the kitchen sink at Gambit and hope to not get outscaled with the Tristana and the Cup.
Where we talk about them as a team that has one punch. If their first punch lands, if they knock down their opponents, they're able to win out the game. But a lot of the time, the enemy is able to recover, get themselves off the canvas, and then come back into the game as it progresses. So we'll have to see if Ascension can land that first haymaker onto Gambit Esports. Especially since we talk about how influential the jungles are, and Diamondprox has actually been having a very good MSI thus far.
Diamondprox in particular has been very good at the counter ganks, at finding his opponents and preventing them from doing anything in the first place. And that is the thing, it's the one punch from Ascension, it's the do or die for Ascension. But can PvP Steos, can he actually work with Diamondprox? Can they track it? Can they prevent it?
Do or die, both in terms of composition and in terms of the tournament. If they lose this game, they cannot get first place. They have to win every single game today to be able to qualify for the knockouts. Gambit Esports, just ticking names off their death note at the moment, need a couple of wins and they should be able to secure that first spot. It's so important for both these teams to show up in this first game. And sometimes you have to shake off that rust a little bit. Sometimes you have to just wake yourself up, slap yourself in the face and say, we have to show up straight away. Otherwise, we might be out.
Well, they had one day to show up already, and it wasn't there for Ascension. For Gambit, being 3-0 sets them up on that pedestal. 2 more wins is basically all it would take. Of course, there are still opportunities for their opponents in the same group, but you can control your own destiny here, Gambit. They've got the head-to-head versus everyone.
And so much of it as well for Ascension is out of their hands now. You say that Gambit can control their own destiny, Ascension cannot. Even if they win all 3 games, they might not make it to that first spot, might not even make it into a tiebreaker. So, in the early game, we want to track these junglers. We want to see what Diamondprox is doing. He's been very good at being aggressive, teaming up with his laners as well to get those early kills.
Yeah, and we mentioned this in the draft already, but the way that the Sejuani wants to interact with the Trundle is usually about avoiding him completely, placing wards down, trying to see where he is. But if you look from the perspective of Diamondprox, from the perspective of Gambit, this is a very good example of it. Go forwards, get into the Sejuani's jungle, make him uncomfortable with either decision-making or pathing, and force errors out of the jungle of Ascension.
Tresso is going to try and get across towards Diamondprox, who has started up his blue buff, chomps it down, secures it for himself. You can see Rocky didn't place any vision around this blue.
But he does know that the explosive plant was missing, so there is always a possibility that the blue buff is in danger, even the safe ward being placed. But he will lose jungle as a result of taking that long to get there.
Drop goes down, Diamondprox eats a flail to the back. Rocky's on his way down as well, did get the push in the top lane, but only level 1, so can't even hook shot towards the enemy jungler. And that's great stuff for Diamondprox. Gets a buff, gets out, and can even do both of his own buffs.
And a lot of this will be compliments of Kira being on the pushing mid laner as well. Against G4, it's the Vladimir. You're looking at maybe level 9 as a point where things start to turn around, and that's simply because he has low enough cooldowns that he can soak all of the damage whilst continuing to push the lanes through. So at level 1, Diamondprox can invade. Kira will be there to support him. And early movements from the rest of the Gambit roster as well, knowing full well where the Sejuani has to go.
Keeping track of Intresso is so important for Gambit, as you say. If they know that Scuttle Crab's not down, they know Intresso is still probably on the top side of the map. It means Diamondprox can be a little bit safer, knows he's not getting invaded. CG actually taking a lot of damage. Ignite as well. Kira just needs to flash, but the Sanguine Pool is in time for G4. Will have to retreat, you assume. unless he wants to try and stay around and heal up with that refillable potion and some transfusions.
He's going to try his best. There's no summoner spells for Kira, just the Ignite, but it is the unsealed spellbook, so the teleport, of course, a possibility. If you're G4 in this situation, you most likely just want to go back to base. It may just be that he wants a little bit more gold, perhaps, before he chooses to shop.
Getting the summoners out of G4 is so good for Diamondbox as well, because he knows he can now go aggressive into this jungle. He knows he can push up. As we said earlier, he's had such a good performance up at MSI until now. 100% first blood participation, 3.0 kills and assists at 15, high kill participation, high gold difference as well. Very much a different jungler to the one we saw before. G4 pops the spell but gets himself a teleport.
Now he's in trouble.
Edward and Diamondbox are waiting in the wings, Rusty.
There's no flash for him available. The teleport's already been used. Even a chunk is a win here.
They get the root down. Diamondbox puts down a pillar as well. Edward just looking for the play, but the Sanguine Pool comes out early. Teleport in from Ascension as well. G4 not in a good spot at all. And first blood goes to Gambit. Stehos trading into Rocky as well. Looking for the vital procs. Gets a lot of damage down. Rocky hugging the wall, but Stehos is going to fly forward for it. The final lunge, the final shot. A rapier to the back of Ascension.
And Stehos gets that in the 1v1 as well, so everything going right for Gambit. Besides that, you didn't see anything. It was still just a solo kill in the top lane. Can go back to his lane, can reset, and there's no teleports available up there too. So early action from side of Gambit. They go proactive in the first place. They've acknowledged that just in the 1v1, Kira's been able to get these summoners, and that's the lane that you go towards. Hold the hook, don't give an opportunity for the Sanguine Pool. And now, of course, we get to see Stehos. He was walked at by Rocky rather aggressively. You might say that was a mistake in hindsight, but he was just trying to find where that teleport was, tragically.
Yeah, you could see Rocky started his TP into the lane initially, then cancelled it, and Stehos was like, oh, take the free damage just standing still. It's very easy to land a vital proc when your opponent is standing in one spot. And now Stehos has a Tiamat in that lane as well. Top side of the map very much in favor of Gambit, and we said that's where they wanted to win.
Exactly, so now that he's got the Tiamat, he's not just controlling the 1v1, but he's controlling the minion waves. And we already spoke to Diamondbox's ability to invade through mid-control of Kira. Well, now he's got the top lane guaranteed to be his. You look towards the bottom lane, it's an Ezreal and a Braum that doesn't have push. That's a decent poke lane, has a decent all-in threat if the jungler shows up as well, but ultimately, Tristana does always have the explosive shot to push in that lane as well. Everything goes right for Gambit, and a Sejuani doesn't make the difference for Ascension.
So the question then becomes for Ascension, where do they go next? Where do they get that one punch that we talk about from? Do they have to wait for level 6? Do they have to wait for perhaps a misplayed teamfight from Gambit before they can land a punch on these LCL giants?
It does make the most sense to wait for level 6, absolutely. And knowing Ascension, they are a super aggressive team. They started to, dwindle a little bit in that aggression as they started losing those games, but that's their style. That's the one that you want to see from them. They need to make that work. They need to find a 2v2 or a skirmish. But it can't be through the jungle, can't be through the top lane. Bring your junglers at level 6 bottom lane is the place that I would be looking.
We'll keep our eyes on that. Kira's still just dominating this mid lane. He's hit level 6, not too impactful for Karma, but it just means he can continually push G4 back. And nowhere near that level 9 we said that G4 needs to be actually able to counter push the lane. Diamondbox still on the aggression, still pushing into Intresso's jungle. Look at the CS discrepancy between the two of them. Diamondbox a full half item ahead of Intresso, and Kira, once again, because he pushes up the lane, can roam quicker and help out his jungler.
And amusingly, Diamondbox doesn't need to do anything but look at Intresso. He can just stare him down and say, go for this control. Whatever else is winning for me, you're the one who needs to do something. This is a grand experience for the Trundle in this situation.
Ignite used mid as well. Kira going to land the root. Sanguine Pool comes out. G4 will heal himself back up, and Hemoplague helps him out a little bit as well, but you're just burning through that health pool for G4 bit by bit by bit.
Bit rough getting past the Scuttle Crab, but he's navigated it, Edward, so he's going to get towards the middle lane. G4 has the flash.
Flash hook misses Edward. Fresh Prince no longer. This isn't Moscow 5, but the play comes out. G4 has the flash in the end.
You'll take it. You'll take the flash used in the end by the mid lane of Ascension. Yes. Went for the miracle play and wasn't able to find that one. Now Lodik has to be careful.
This is what we want to see from Ascension, though. They know Edward's not there. You can push in that bottom lane as soon as Edward leaves.
And he's gone for Boots of Mobility, so it's a very clear sign of where Edward wants to be, and that is everywhere over Summoner's Rift, not necessarily sitting into that bottom lane. Fair strategy as well when you've got the rest of your map winning, but it does leave Lodik to the Wolves, and there's a chance and he gets caught out of position. However, still has both of those summoner spells, so ultimately, as the dust settles, he's going to be okay in that bottom lane and everyone in control.
A key lane we have talked for Ascension is that bottom lane, especially Rich. Not on the Rakan this time, is playing the Braum, but can definitely influence the game, influence team fights with that Braum pick. Very good at getting kills and assists with his team, very good at participating in the kills as well. Even if his team's falling behind, Rich is always there to help out.
Yeah, often you'll be looking at this side, and they are 0-3 currently, so you don't have the highest expectations, but he is the man that you have to watch, and that's why we say bring the Sejuani to the bottom lane. He gets the Braum, you're right, not the Rakan. Maybe it doesn't have as much playmaking potential, but Braum can still outplay the heck out of everybody, especially when you look at the opposing team.
Right now, you can sense Ascension are waiting for that initial fight. They're waiting for the first time they can catch Gambit out. And Gambit are trying to do things. They're trying to shut down G4 in the mid lane, who, even though he's died once, is farming well, is keeping even with Kira. Getting towards that level 9 mark where he should be the one with the push pressure and the ability to roam.
I mean, the CS values are fairly close, right? The gold difference is only 1,000. Ultimately, you look at this, you know, it's not the worst case scenario for Ascension, but it started poorly. And when you feel how the map is being played right now, there is no real semblance of anything from Ascension, right? So even though it's super close, it doesn't feel that way. And that's something that actually affects the momentum of the players as well. You don't get to see the gold when you're playing the game. It just feels like you're losing.
Have to remember that Lloyd has Klepto as well, which will give him some of that extra gold back. But I totally agree with you, Rossi. The momentum, the feeling, especially if you lose the first game of the day here as Ascension, you will feel deflated. You know that you can't get through to the knockout stages anymore. You won't have that same impetus to fight in the following games. But playing for the pride of their region, you have to remember GPL got this seed because Vietnam have now moved up to a full seed of their own. Ascension have always been on the cusp of making it to MSIs, making it to Plains, but being stymied by young generation, by Gigabyte Marines, by these Vietnamese teams, and now they have their chance to really prove themselves on the world stage.
Yeah, the Thailand representative's always been second fiddle to the Vietnamese region, and you always want to be happy, you know, that they're gone and that you don't have to play against the team that keeps beating you to get to these events. But having spoken to them briefly, they're actually upset. They don't get to play against the Vietnamese region. They don't get to prove themselves as better when they get to that main stage and say they deserve the spot. And they do deserve it. They still need to get through Vietnam.
Here's this level 6 fight in the bottom lane. We talked about Rich is the one to make the engage. The box comes down as well. Rich caught up underneath the turret, and Lodic and Edward are just getting free hits off here. Diamond Box, Kira the first to rotate from the mid lane as well. Gambit trying to turn around this aggression from Ascension in the bottom lane. Rich dodges around towards the turret. Here comes the Vlad as well, ghosting in from the side. Can't quite land the Hemoplate, but a great lockdown here. Lodic has to flash away, but they've got the concussive blows. The stun comes out. Ascension managing to turn it back onto Gambit, unable to get the kill. But that's what Ascension can do in team fights.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit closer for Ascension when you look at the results of these fights as well. An overreach from Gambit is what you would say here in the end too. They push a little bit too far. They try a little bit too hard to get those kills when they didn't really have the opportunity. And they present an opportunity to their opponents. And you know Ascension, you know they're going to take that chance. They're almost able to find some success within that, but the fact it was held back, the fact there was no kills, is still in favor of Gambit.
That it is still that 1,000 gold lead that we talk about. Shurelias have finished on G4 now. We've seen Vladimir's get that first item and start to take over the game. Fallen behind in CS in the mid lane, mostly due to the fact that he had to roam down when the wave was pushing in towards him, but still opportunities here for Ascension. Gambit, however, are looking very strong, and if they can continue to keep up this aggression, you have to think they'll take the win. Rocky is trading onto Steos. A great dodge of the Hexa Golden Maiden there by Steos with the parry, but Rocky with the press, the attack is winning these trades.
And Steos just doesn't have the ultimate, so there was a chance that that was going to turn around. However, Rocky, good awareness. Even if it gets parried, he's still dealing damage afterwards because it was just the spell that was interrupted. So good trade in the end for the top lane. A great awareness from Ascension.
And Rocky is one of those key members for Ascension as well. He's consistently forward in his lane, pushing into the opposing side of the map, being aggressive. On this Camille, given it for the first time in the tournament, we want to see him making plays.
And he has to be. When you think towards his local region, he was a big part of the carrying within Tresso, and that just hasn't existed on this stage. It's almost like a new caliber of top laner was his opponent, and he didn't really know how to deal with it. But you're right, you mentioned that he gets the Camille. That may just be a big part of it. The comfort champion, what he knows the best and knows the most with the limits of the champion, starts to take more aggressive trades.
Still building up towards that first completed item. Has the Tiamat to answer the push from Steos now. Interesting to see Banner of Command first on Kira here in the mid lane as well, just trying to continue that push into G4.
And I like this a lot. This is the first time we've actually seen it through the mid laners. I see it all the time in the LPL. What is the Vladimir going to do, right? Usually you have to bring your jungler over, but in this instance, the jungler is also a Sejuani. So no one can actually deal with this cannon that's going to be barreling down the middle lane, and Kira completely free to leave. He's currently got the cleanse, doesn't need the teleport because this buys him so much time that they bring their top laner in to deal with it.
It's just like all of Ascension eventually are going to group up just to kill this one Banner minion. And this is the thing as well, like you can say it will die to tower, but it gives Kira and Diamondbox free time to hit on towards the turret as well.
And how much gold is a cannon worth right now as well? It just feels bad. You can't. Yeah, they're so hard to last hit.
That's a shame.
And it's worth so much gold. It's just such a cheesy strat. I love it.
Quick roam here from Gambit. Great hook on towards Intresso as well. Kira and Diamondbox on their way down towards Rich. No flash on him, of course, and Gambit once again decides to back off as soon as they see the roam coming out from G4. Diamondbox takes a Hemoblade. G4 right in the front line. He's actually popped the Shurelias here as well. Glacial Fisher, the lantern's there, but he can't get there in time, and Lloyd gets the kill. Kira still getting chased in here by G4. And Steos is losing the trade in the top lane as well. After winning out early on in that 1v1, Steos is the one forced back.
Super dangerous there for Steos, but at the bottom side of the map, Diamond Prox goes down, and that was mostly because of G4 on the Vladimir. High damage, high pick potential, and his ability to chase this with the Shurelia's Revelry does wonders for him. And ultimately, that's the Braum Sejuani combo. That's the fact that they've just got an abundance of crowd control. It can be ranged as well. They're able to lock down a single member very successfully. That gets them an objective.
Yeah, they get the Mountain Drake off the back of it. They get a lot of damage towards this top lane tower as well. It's going to be a battle between mid lane for Gambit and top lane for Ascension to see which is the first turret to fall. Let's have another look at this fight, because G4 comes in from the side.
And it's just confidence from G4 as well. He knows full well that he's not going to die to those two members. It's a Banner of Command Karma, right? So whilst it controls the mid lane, it doesn't deal damage. So you are able to walk up like this as the Vladimir, and that's always the concern. You know, the strength of having this Banner of Command cannon minion is that G4's locked, but when he is unlocked, he's going to deal more damage than you. He's going to want to team fight and take opportunities when he can.
Diamondbox being forced away with the Tides of Blood. It's important to remember the last time these two teams met as well, Rusty, the game was very close. There was only a slight gold lead for Gambit at that 15-minute mark, and they were only in a major lead. That means they had 52% of the gold in the game or more for about 20% of the game, which is not a monumental amount.
This is actually pretty risky for PvP Steos here. The bottom lane was rotating.
Hexagon comes out on towards Steos, maybe a little bit early, pops the Grand Challenge as well. Hook shot, Rocky looking for the wall dive, but Steos parries it away, and the teleport comes in from Kira as well. Does relieve pressure on that mid lane tower that we thought might fall for Gambit.
You mentioned how close it is in the last time. It's actually even closer this game. The second time these teams will face each other, but the lane swaps there, the ability to rotate around the map. It looks like, and it feels like, Ascension have actually got back some momentum on the map, some control. Their ability to rotate first is going to set them up to potentially actually get structures down, and that actually starts that snowball just by getting vision and map control.
And we talked about them as a one-punch team, but this has been more like a flurry of punches. Little by little, they've chipped away at the defenses of Gambit, managed to win that last fight from a good flank, and they are now chipping away at the defenses. They're going to be able to get that tower in the top lane pretty quickly, you'd assume. Rocky's moved to the mid. They brought Vlad down towards the bottom lane. We'll have to see if they're able to actually take that next step against Gambit.
The constant jabs are always going to be something that's refreshing to see from them. Everyone wanted to see more aggression. Well, it's nice to see it tempered in a correct way as mid lane Kira.
Oh, it doesn't quite get the stun off. Has to flash in the end because G4 was coming in with the Shurelias and the Ghost. Incredibly speedy. Vladimir from the side and down up towards this top lane. Once again, Edward's still looking for those flanks. Hasn't been as effective as he would have liked to with the amount that he's roamed, especially with G4 coming in from the mid lane here. Glacial Fisher does connect onto Edward, but the heal will keep him alive for the time being. There's the prison as well, and Ascension don't care about towers. They're going for the dives. Lodic with a great buster shot to get them away. Diamondbox now subjugated in Tresso, keeping himself healthy underneath this tower. But Lloyd, Rich, and G4 do not care about your structures. They just want the kills. Rich gets it in the end. Ascension get two in the top lane.
They take the second kill. They're going to push towards the top lane outer turret as well. Kira does win. That's just the Banner of Command doing its work. It was a matter of time for mid lane, but still Ascension are making the big plays. Don't even worry about the first turret gold. Worry about the fact that Ascension is starting to scale up. They're starting to look towards skirmishes where they're strong. They're starting to transition that into team fights potentially with the Vladimir, and you can tell the G4 is really starting to feel himself now.
Definitely pretty happy. And it's just the engaged potential of that Vladimir, the threat that he can come from anywhere in any of these team fights is absolutely devastating.
And Rich is the one that starts this off as well, knowing full well that Edward has to flash. They see the rotation coming. And even with the flash, very easy to predict that one. Sejuani, follow it up. The pick composition like we highlighted last time. We get to see that in display once more. And there's no real opportunities here for Diamond Prox. Just try your best to live. But honestly, actually does for a significant amount of time.
And this delays the tower going down as well, which is good for Gambit because they get the mid lane turret first tower blood off it. Ascension, though, now need to translate this into more. They have to start getting these objectives, getting towers, looking towards the next dragon, which is up in just 2 minutes' time as well.
And there still comes that 3-item point for a Tristana, where it comes truly online. We'll be able to start the team fights for Gambit Esports and maybe get those big 5v5s there. Vladimir's always going to be the concern on the opposite side, starting to get some items himself, now completing the second one. The top laners are still a bit of an enigma, really, when you compare them both. There's no real definitive winner. Where it started with Steos, it's shifted back to Rocky, but he hasn't gone for sustain Rocky, so he's looking towards the immediate win of the duel with the Trinity Force. If that is not successful, Steos actually wins.
I think the question becomes, does Rocky start joining in team fights as well? Because I've always thought of Camille as kind of this hybrid. She can split push okay, but she can also team fight, whereas Fiora is very much more just about split pushing, just about pressuring that side lane.
These two are actually just going hard to the paint right now.
There comes the Hextech ultimatum. Grand Challenge used as well, but Intresto's here from the side. Steos flashes early, Prism misses. Rocky trying to dodge around those vital signs. Steos is going to take a stun here. The Lantern comes out, and Steos gets himself away.
And that's little riposte, and well done from Edward also to be there with the Lantern. Meanwhile, you get a bit of depression from the top side of the map, watching Kira just annihilate the health bar of G4. But big win from Steos. And again, you're not going to see teleports. The flash being used isn't the biggest deal. Like you mentioned, the Fiora is just going to be sitting in a side lane. That's only outplay potential, perhaps missing. So wants to continue to push down there.
And even though it's been Ascension who've been winning the fights, it's Gambit who've taken the objectives. We saw second tower fall in that bottom lane to Steos, so that fight started up, and it means there's 1,000 gold lead for Gambit at 20-minute mark.
There's an Ocean Drake available in 15 seconds as well. The big concern for me is that the Fiora being hard committed to the split push does provide opportunities in these moments for Ascension to, instead of putting Rocky down, hang on.
G4 does get the heal off the Hemoplague, but he's not healing enough to actually challenge Kira yet.
You can never tell with a Vladimir. He's very annoying to watch sometimes, always at low health, but the point I'm making is that you can bring Camille to fights whenever PvP Steos has been pushed back. That opens opportunities to 5v5, and when objectives are available, that is things they may start to look towards. Ocean Drake's the smaller one, the Baron's the more significant objective that they should put most of their focus to.
Yeah, to be frank, Ocean Drake isn't the best dragon to be securing. Kira is going to be able to get away with the Lantern once again. Edward has been on point with those. But as you say, Baron, the real key objective here for Gambit, had 100% take on it on day one. Today we'll be looking to keep up that statistic.
It's always risky when you're playing against a Vladimir to stand in the pit, to lose resistances, take any kind of damage, and confine yourself to a small area. So moving forward.
Against a Camille, against a Sejuani, against an Ezreal, you don't want to do that against any of this team, really.
There's a whole lot of danger circles. You're playing against the Ascension 5v5. And I think Gambit wouldn't actually want to do that objective, right? They wouldn't just want to walk into the Baron and say, let's just 5v5 and take that fight. It's about getting the picks first. That's also where Ascension excel.
Yeah. Lloyd has the Osborne Gauntlet here. Good flash from Kira to dodge the Glacial Prison. Diamond Prox was on his way up as well. But Ascension are finding parts of picks. They're not finding the eventual pick, but they're getting flashes out, they're getting summoners out. And they did get a tower, Gambit did get a tower in that top lane because of the banner minion that is just so pesky for Ascension to deal with.
It's just slowly winning the game for the side of Gambit. Put a cannon in a side lane, give it the banner of command buff, disappear, and watch as it wins. Now, there isn't many lanes left for it to go, however. The Baron buff is the last nail in the coffin. If they get that, they can use it and just siege with it. That's the one major 5v5 strength they may actually present themselves with. To get that first, the Trundle has to make some big plays. The Thresh as well. They're the duo that you want to see working together, in fact, to generate those picks.
And Thresh is just consistently, Edward consistently throughout his career has been so good at making picks on the Thresh. It was one of his main champions when he was playing on Gambit and on Moscow 5 in the past. So effective at finding positions where the enemy has no vision, putting out a hook, bringing the Lantern in as well to help out his team.
Right now, he's just been the ambulance. Yeah. Dark passage for everybody. No such things as throwing hooks. He's just saving all of his teammates against the pit comp of Ascension. So you want to see that start to shift the other way, perhaps get some vision down and try and find where Ascension will be before they get there. control objectives a bit better, and they're defensive right now. It's getting better, but none of it's really pushing past the neutral mark of the river.
That's what I was going to point out. Look at their control wards in this red side jungle. It's all very, very safe. While Rocky is engaging on towards Steos in the bottom lane. Puts the Hexo and makes him down. Interesto there as well. The stun lock should be enough to kill Steos, and Ascension get their 4th kill of the game.
They just keep putting Interesto down towards the bottom lane. They keep finding PvP Steos trying to take the 1v1s, as he should be doing. And it doesn't look like there's ever any trade on the opposite side. I think the Fiora is just the only big win condition that they're really relying on right now.
There's the hook, though. There's the Edward we know and love. Even takes the kill in the end with Ignite.
That's what we were waiting for, Medic. We get that kill out. Of course, it's still going to be a net loss for the side of Gambit, but there is some fight in the system. They're starting to get some blood, like they mentioned. They wanted it to come across.
And here's the deeper vision that you talked about as well, Rusty. Pushing forward into the jungle, getting these wards down, clearing out vision around the Baron. Gambit can now set up for that next stage of play.
And to me, that really is the biggest thing. You get a pick, you actually get the capabilities to place wards down, and then the next pick, even easier.
Treasure face straight into 4 members of Gambit. Glacial Fisher comes out as well. Interested with the flash across the wall, keeps himself safe for now, but there's no tower there if Gambit did want to chase. Rocky has a flank position here, but not sure he wants to dive into all 4 members of Gambit. Instead, just goes back up towards the top lane.
Yeah, that'd be a very dangerous flank to actually be on, but he has used the teleport to get there, so he doesn't really have the capabilities to sit bottom anymore, where they were starting to scale him up, starting to snowball him against Steos just that little bit further. Well, it's not going to happen anymore. So he's going to have to start grouping and look towards those 5v5s. Steos will have the teleport fairly soon. Put him in the bottom lane, put him in the side lane, start pushing those waves out. You've already got the vision placed down from the 2 picks that you just tried to generate, so now you can keep being a bit more aggressive.
You can see Kira's gone for the teleport as well from that unsealed spellbook as well, so he has the option, if Steos burns his teleport, to then move into a side lane. Gives Gambit a little bit more flexibility with exactly how they play this 1-3-1 that they're enacting at the moment. And I think you can sense that although the last game between these 2 teams was close, this one feels even closer to me. You can sense that Ascension have taken a day, they've stepped back, they've reevaluated how they want to play, and they're really putting the pressure on Gambit right now.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it doesn't feel like 0-3 against 3-0. It doesn't feel like your first versus 4th matchup does it at all. It's actually very close between them.
It does feel like Ascension know if they make a mistake, they're out of the tournament. It feels, you can feel that tension in the air. You can feel that at times, maybe they're being a little bit more cautious than they would want to be.
It's definitely a do-or-die moment for them, but the same thing applies for Gambit. You don't want to take any losses coming into the second day, actually upset the balance of the standings, as only first place does go through.
You can see we're moving towards that 3-item mark on Logic here as well, and you've got the Ardent Sensor finished on Kira in the mid lane, so that Tristana alongside the Fiora, the 2 win conditions here for Gambit.
And the Zeke's Convergence as well for Diamond Proc, so a lot of things to buff up Logic. He's hitting that point in the game. You mentioned 3 items, and from that 3-item point, even prioritize the rapid fire cannon. He wants to start hitting those champions and taking them down, but he doesn't have a QSS.
But look at the other side, and this is slightly odd from Lloyd. He's got Iceborne Gauntlet, has the Mana Muni fully tacked, but now has a tier in his inventory as well. I have not seen that before. I'm going to let you think about it for a while. Seraph's is the option. He's got Lost Chapter as well.
He likes the color blue. Medic, that's what I got for you.
It's old school blue build Ezreal, right? Just needs to finish the Blade of the Ruin King. But Seraph's is the option with the Lost Chapter. It's just not something we commonly see. And it does give them a little bit more magic damage, I guess.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you also get the active of the shield. So there's benefits in that respect against the composition that wants to be sprinting at you. May help. The top lane's still fighting.
Kira on this very utility-based Karma trying to trade in towards G4. No Hemo play for G4, has to flash, but Kira right in the front line. Zhonya's comes out. Diamond Fox is on his way up here as well. There's no way for G4 to escape, and Kira with the 1v1 outplay in the top lane.
Now it's time to have a look in the bottom lane as well. The flashes, they're committing.
Puts down the grand challenge. No Hexagon made him here for Rocky. Needs to hug that wall, keep the Vitals away from Steos, but even with a hookshot wall dive, Steos is on relenting in this bottom lane. Final Vital in the right spot. Steos sinks a dagger into the heart of Ascension.
And you get the Trinity Force. There is no real escape. Teleports immediately from Steos as well. They've got 2 kills, and it looks like everything is just completely unfurled for the side of Ascension. They go to the Baron.
As many times as you punch Gambit, they get back up off the map, and then they can engage on you as well. Baron still being propped here by Diamond Fox and Lodic. But the stun is going to land. A lot of damage of the Sails. That's one. Lloyd's still safe in the backline, but Rich now is the one that targeted. Lloyd jumps forward, has to heal, has to flash away as well, but Rich and Intresso pulling down towards the bottom side. Lodic jumping forward. Rich gonna get caught out here as well. That's double kill for Lodic. And they will go back towards the Baron.
Yeah, straight back to the Baron. You hit the picks. Edward actually comes up super clutch with a hook onto Lloyd. That's why he looks like he was going forwards, but he was actually just pulled in. And they're not done. They keep trying to get these picks. Baron just feels like this very unsafe zone for them, but it's also a free excuse to make Ascension walk at you constantly, and I think that's what they want the most.
Can't blame them for that at all. Still only 600 in gold in this game, but you can see Gambit are now the ones winning fights.
Certainly are, and of course it looks like it's not a bad start here. Perhaps the potential for a 3v5's there, but Edward finds the mark, hits the target with the hook. He's really started to come online with his accuracy here, and once Edward gets going, he does not stop. The last kills remaining is Rich. And that could be the Baron for Gambit if they want it. They could run back in, but Intresso's alive, so why not keep trying to pick it?
Instead, they go and get themselves another Ocean Drake. You can see Rocky and G4 not being in that fight is incredibly impactful. Like, Seos didn't do any damage either, but he tanked for a little while, and sometimes that's all your team needs to help you out. 3 items now finished on towards Lodic, so he is at that late game Tristana that we talk about so much. We'll have to see if Ascension are able to deal with that. Seraphs has been finished,
yeah,
but Archangel's finished for Lloyd, so...
I mean, he's definitely finished the item, and when you look at what it provides, we mentioned the shield.
That's the
bad,
most
right?
diplomatic response ever.
I know.
He's definitely finished the item.
It's an item in League of Legends.
I disagree with it entirely, but he has finished the item.
Yeah, I just feel like they've got magic damage in the composition already, right? They have a Vladimir, so you don't need magic damage. The shield's nice, but you could have a locket on your support, maybe a locket on your jungler. That could be a damage-dealing item.
A Knight's Vow would help you out for that as well.
He could deal damage instead.
Yeah. The only argument I can think of is if they get a True Shot Barrage and Karma tries to shield, this helps chunk through that shield a little bit.
I will only call that redeemed if he steals a Baron with it.
Okay, we'll see. If it happens, gonna call it redeemed. Rocky here did teleport in to try and flank on towards Gambit. Ascension are the ones pushing forward in towards that Baron pit as well. Maybe they've got a few more punches in their arsenal before they lay down in this matchup, but it's becoming more and more Gambit favored as the game goes on.
There's still a lot of respect, though, from Gambit specifically. You can see that Ascension are pushing forwards, but they're also being allowed to do that. Perhaps that comes to the composition. Diamond.
The one to face check here does get healed up as well. G4 in the midst of them all, though, gets a good Hemo Plague off. There's the True Shot Barrage as well. Edward the first to go down, and Ascension are unrelenting. They're pushing forward. Seos and Rocky trading down towards the bottom side. Diamond low. Rocky forward but jumps across with a hook shot. Wall dive, and now Ascension, 5 men strong, can push for the Baron if they want.
They actually get 2 picks here. So Edward goes down, Diamond Prox goes down, and suddenly just the Vladimir doing so much work. The ranged engage capabilities of a Sejuani also able to complement that damage output. Gambit still have control of the area. Recalls have been forced from the Ascension roster. But you can tell, even after all the picks have been there, they're still pushing forwards. They're still confident. They know they can take this.
Yeah, Stealth knows he can take this 2v1 as well. There's the stun into the hookshot wall dive. Stealth, Hexag Ultimatum comes out. Killer from the side can't heal him up quickly enough, but he flashes forward. He wants Rocky, and Rocky is sacrificed by Intresso. 1-for-1 trade. Lodic was on his way up as well, but wasn't able to react in time.
Gets the flash out of Kira just to get the trade at all. That's always going to be a dangerous thing moving forwards. When the Sejuani now saw that flash, has the eye in on you as well. Could be a major target to start a team fight off. And suddenly, we've just hit chaos mode. Everything is about the picks. Everything's about the skirmishes. And there's no real winner.
It's so odd to see that, though, because with the game so close, you'd think the team with the better scaling AD carry, with the top laner that can split push better, would be able to close out the game. And somehow Ascension are finding the fights they need.
It feels to me like Gambit are dancing to the beat of Ascension's drum, which is exactly what they want when they win a game. They're a skirmish team, they're scrappy, they want to take it to and win individually. And Gambit have tried to slow down. They've actually really put extra effort into saying, don't make the plays, give it 2 minutes and relax. But then they get forced into it. Something crazy happens again. They don't know what to do, so they take it. I do think I credit a lot of this actually to the consistently defensive and neutral vision of Gambit, nothing more.
I would agree with that. They're just not pushing forward. You can see there's not a single ward on the other side of the map, and it's the reason they get caught out like this. Glacial Fisher used Ascension once again in the river, trying to find their perfect team fight. Teleport in from Steos. Diamondbox caught in the back. Rocky jumped in but got knocked out, and Ascension pushing forward once again. They're going to get 2 here. The kill onto Steos. Logic on the wrong side of the fight. He's stunned up. QSS doesn't matter when Ascension won the kill. They get 3 and they turn their eyes towards the Baron.
3 kills gone straight to the Baron buff. Nothing should really be able to stop them as well. Diamondprox is dead. There's no smite still there, and the damage is very high from them. Ascension, the Thai team just come up clutch.
And we said this was their chance to come out of the shadow of Vietnam. This was their opportunity, their international event where they represented the GPL. Ascension are now showing us why they deserve to be here.
And it all starts with Kira having no flash. They know that he's caught out of position. They're able to just sit there and auto-attack him, get the ultimates off to combo all of the CC, and it's wait for G4 to get here because he's the team fighting. And immediately gets in. He's just going to zone everyone away. Diamondprox is caught. The next person in line gets caught. And meanwhile, Kira, Edward, they can't actually provide any assistance. Logic now separated once again. Really good routing and confidence from the Ascension roster.
And look at the damage coming out from G4 and Lloyd in that fight as well. Twice as much as Kira for G4. It's expected. You know, Kira's gone utility build, but you can't keep your AD carry safe. You can't keep your frontline safe, then you are going to fall off as the game progresses. The biggest gold lead we've seen this game now for Ascension. 3.5, almost 4,000 gold ahead. They're going to turn their eyes towards the Mountain Drake as well.
And it took them 33 minutes, but we do have a consequential lead in this game. We actually have a meaningful lead, and the Baron buff secured to make that even more, snowball even further. All of the outers, all of the inners, they start to get pressured. They should just fall down. There's too much dive threat from this Ascension team. And speaking of,
Steos with a great dodge there, though. Once again with the riposte, he has been absolutely on point. Hasn't had the opportunity to really control a side lane in this game, but he is still scaling up on the Fiora. You have to remember that.
And that's actually really big. It'll make them go back and get the Drake. They may not be able to push forward and get themselves another turret, missing both of those ultimates. It's about waiting for the cooldowns now, and then look towards the picks again, look towards the team fights again. And it's starting to hit a point, though. When you look at Gambit, they've got the QSS, they've got the Lanterns, they've got a cleanse on Kira, they've got the riposte available for Steos. Diamondprox and Edward are the only 2 people that the Sejuani can target.
Edward is relatively squishy as well, though. Only has the upgraded support item and the redemption. So if you catch him out, you're probably going to be able to kill him. Especially since G4 just finished his Rabadon death cap, as well as that Zhonya's. A 4-item Vladimir with the ability to run at your backline is very, very scary.
They have 1 locket available as well to try and negate some of that damage, but what they do have is the Karma, the standard pick into the Vladimir. Once you complete the death cap yourself, which he has, that's 4 items done, then an empowered shield on everyone pretty much diffuses the entire ultimate of G4 as well on that Vlad. So ultimately, they're decent as the comp goes for diffusing him, but the unrelenting pushing forwards, the consistent damage output starts to prove that it's just a little bit too much right now.
And talking about that unrelenting pressure, that push forward from Ascension, let's have a look at their vision line here as well. You can see Gambit entirely in the dark, don't even have awareness of their own jungle. Ascension, with the pressure, are moving their vision forward and stymieing Gambit. There's the engage, gonna lock down Steos in the middle of this fight, but he does get a big shield, gets out into the Hexag ultimatum as well. Rocky in that front line, Intresso fighting Diamondprox down towards the bottom side. GA pops on Steos. Ascension need to try and collapse onto Steos before he can get away. They get a kill. And they're going to keep pushing forward. G4 still in the midst of it all. Lloyd dodging towards the side. G4 not in the best spot now, but can use the Zhonya's. Teleporting from Rocky as well. Ascension going in with a 5-man dive here towards that inhibitor tower. They'll take it. They'll take the inhibitor as well.
And he was protected by Rich. G4 playing out of his mind right now on this Vladimir. They get the inhibitor. They're able to back away, reset, get some items, go to another lane and try again. Ascension may well be on the path to getting their first victory in the play-ins of MSI.
What a story that would be if they went 0-3 to 3-0, somehow made it into a tiebreaker at the end of the day, and were able to make it into knockout stages. Maybe even facing EVOS to truly prove they are the better team from that region. So let's have another look at this engage onto Steos.
And this time around, just not the riposte available for Steos. He had it, of course, off cooldown, but he didn't use it, so caught out of position, then used the Lantern to get to safety. He's in a bit of hot water here when he respawns, so naturally we'll just go straight down. G4, of course, once again zoning everyone away. You've got a QSS, so that prevents the Sejuani engage from Intresso if you're Logic in this instance, but that doesn't stop the raw damage output that you're starting to see from a Vladimir. That could be a Hex Drinker, but then you're playing the 50-50 game.
And you talked about how deceptive Vladimir can be as well. Like, he goes in, it looked like he was low, and then he just heals back up to full HP because of the Hemo plague and the transfusions. Again, the engage lands in the middle lane, all onto Diamondbox. Rich stands with a shield, protecting his backline. Intresso falls low, the heal comes out. G4 falls first, though, and this is a great fight for Gambit. They turn towards the top lane. Rocky having to run away. We see Intresso and G4 dead, and Rocky gets pillared to eternity. Lodic with the chase, Steos across the wall as well. Rocky doesn't really have a way out of this one unless he can somehow wrangle his way out with a hookshot wall dive, but you can see Diamond and Steos trying to get the flank off, actually let Rocky get away.
Yeah, they let him go, so they only take the 2 kills, and unfortunately for Gambit, the fight was great, the pick was great, it's just going to diffuse the situation. Ascension are the ones going forwards, but 2 hooks, not just 1, 2 hooks from Edwards connect onto G4. There is no such thing as safety for him. They're constantly being routed. Edward is trying his absolute hardest to carry them over the line here. And those 2 picks are fantastic, but remember what was lost. They still lost the turret in the mid lane. They don't have a Baron they can take afterwards. They lost the inner turret in the bottom lane as well from previous picks. And the top lane gone with the inhibitor. Still a massive, monumental victory for Ascension overall.
Still a 6,000 gold lead for them as well. Baron up in a minute and a half. They've got a tiny bit of vision in the jungle of Gambit. They'll want to refresh that. They'll want to push that forward. But in that last fight, we did see what Lodic can do now. 4 completed items alongside the Ardent Sensor, alongside the Zeeks, alongside the Redemption. If he's safe at the back of a team fight, Lodic should be able to carry Gambit across the line.
All he's missing now is a little bit of life steal from finishing off the Mercurial Scimitar. Against the Vladimir will do wonders, but right now they're very strong. They're very set to front-to-back team fight. But it still does come down to those really hard-to-execute style of compositions. Where you look at the Ascension side, yes, it's also pick, but it's very simple. A Sejuani and a Braum, it's AoE. You just throw it in a straight line. If it hits, it hits. It's got to be a hook from Edward. It's got to be something like a really good pillar from Diamondprox. There's not a lot left available for them. And then sitting there, sitting back and waiting for Ascension to come to you just gives them chances to kill you.
And you have to remember the comparison with the damage coming out from both the 2 teams. You can see Lloyd has done a huge amount of damage here, but a lot of that's going to be mixed because he's got that Seraphs there as well. Ezreal already does a bunch of magic damage, and you wonder maybe if they had a bit more AD, maybe if he was at 4 AD items rather than that Seraphs in the mix, he would be able to do a little bit more in these fights. It is working out for Ascension at times, but at times it may be their downfall as well. Diamondprox, he's caught out in his own jungle, locked up with the Glacial Prism. Hexagolden Maiden comes out as well. Diamondprox trying to get towards the lands and the hook. Diamondprox still alive in the midst of it all. Look at how low Intresso is. He gets away. G4, though, is on the back line. Pops the Zhonya's. Now Ascension need to protect their mid laner. Another hook comes out. Edward low. Diamondprox there as well. Rocky jumps forward, can't quite get the final shot. And now Gambit will turn it around. Lodic still very healthy in the midst of this fight. There's the true shot. Barrage! And he gets the kill. That's worth it. That's worth the Seraphs in the end. Great stuff from Ascension.
They'll take the 1 kill, and again, Baron is alive, so they'll go back to the objective. They'll be able to continue this snowball across. Now hitting their maximum power. That was a very delicate trade back and forth. No one willing to die. And it just becomes 1 kill and a lot of health gone in the end, but still the advantage goes to the Thailand team.
Oh, just so close in these team fights. Have another look at this, because I think Diamond was dead from the start.
He's so tanky. He actually lives for a ridiculous amount of time. Gets shields from Karma. Gets the ultimate off as well, a second rotation of shield. Redemption heals, ridiculous amount of work. And G4 comes in and hits pretty much everybody going forwards. Great zone use. If a hook doesn't connect from Edward, the follow-up's not always going to be there. And the Ezreal ultimate, a little bit of AP on the backside will be what secures the kills as the constant delicate back and forth.
Even going through Steos there as well, which reduces the damage of the True Shot Barrage, was enough to get the kill. Look at G4 in that fight. That is absolutely disgusting levels of damage from the Vladimir.
I'm actually just really happy to see him not on Swain. Like, yes. Swain can team fight, but drops off after the mid-game period of the game. Now he's got a late-game team fighter, and now he is late-game team fighting, and he looks clean.
With the Elder Drake as well, sitting on double mountain, that will bolster their damage by 135 true damage over a few seconds as well, which is a lot. I mean, I said it slightly sarcastically, but it's a lot of extra damage in these fights. Well,
you're a support, man. You know just how much that is as well. It feels like you are God mode turned on. You do so much damage even taking the 1v1 against Edward if you're rich.
I just use it to last hit, in all honesty. It's just like, oh, I hit these minions even better now.
I think that's actually quite toxic, and we're not going to talk about that anymore.
I do. Anyway, let's get back into the game. Yes, it was. It was. 10,000 gold lead here for Ascension Gaming, looking for their first win at MSI. in their first international tournament as an organization as well. Pushing towards that top lane. Inhibitor has respawned. Rocky on his way, has the teleport, will join the team straight away.
With the teleport actually super early, could have walked, but it means they just want to push forwards immediately. They want to shove their face in it effectively, ensure that the inhibitor is theirs to be locked down. Side lane control's also there, but engaging.
Glacial Prism, there's the Fissure as well. Logic caught in the midst of it all. Edward, so low, gets taken down first, and Ascension wants to fight. They have that Elder Drake, remember. Rocky's up towards the side of this, gets onto Steos, the stun out, but Steos cleanses it away. G4 in the midst of it all. Another double kill. Logic falls. Rocky's chasing Steos away as well, but this should be the game for Ascension. In the first game of the day, they're going to get their first win of MSI. Ascension take it over Gambit.
The miracle run is still alive for Ascension now with that victory over Gambit from 0-3 to 1-3. The opportunity is still there for them. They can continue forwards in the tournament. Their run does not end here. On the back of an outstanding showing with their team play, their confidence, they're moving forwards at every moment, and the team fighting from G4 was more than enough.
And G4 put the team on his back at points. G4 and Lloyd got their first win at a major international tournament after 20 games. That must feel incredible if you are part of this Ascension lineup. Just absolutely amazing to be able to take down the team that looked so strong on day one.
I don't know how many people in the competitive world can say they've won a game on Ezreal with both tier items to boot. So has a bit of AP there, actually resulted in one of those kills and did deal the most damage on his team. So stepped up to the plate there, at least mechanically. And that constant aggression from the side of Ascension means that even in those 3v5s, he was still dealing damage.
He was, and it was so impressive from them to be willing to do that as well. Yeah. Like, as the rest of the team, if someone did that in my solo queue game, I'd be like, mate, what's going on? Are you trolling a little bit? But no, they have confidence in their AD carry, they have confidence in his ability to get the extra damage out, and confidence in G4 as well. Gambit, on the other hand, though, Rusty, will be looking at this and be a little bit disappointed because they played the early game really well.
I think the problem with Gambit in this particular game is the idea was sound from them. Play slowly, know that you're against a scrappy team, try and find some opportunities, some moments perhaps where you can go forwards and be super aggressive when they make the mistakes, but they didn't make mistakes. They were engaging really consistently and together as a 5v5. They went towards the bottom lane as well. I think that's the biggest thing for Ascension's side, where Gambit didn't expect it. They actually just went and killed Fiora 3 times until that started snowballing, and then team fought